Welcome back, viewers, to part 2 of the ETCG Dad's Truck front suspension rebuild. Now, this covers a lot of stuff on these trucks, which, by the way, is a GMT400, which ran from 1988 to 1998. So if you have one of these trucks, you're looking to do any kind of work on the front suspension, brakes, or steering, well, this video series has you covered, believe me. But I will catch up at the end as far as other details and other things. If you haven't seen part 1, it's linked down at the top in the description, along with other videos in this series. But right now, let's get back to the action already in progress. Eric, do your thing. A little bit of time has passed. I flipped the calipers and the other stuff that was over there, painted that. Now, I'm going to turn my attention to this frame. I'm going to focus on getting the grease and that chunky stuff off first, and then I'll go back and knock some of the rust loose. I'm going to have the engine and transmission out, so I'm not too concerned about stuff up here, but anything that's where the control arms go or under the control arms, I want to be sure to get that all cleaned and prepped so I can get that painted so that when those parts go back in, I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to say this probably for the 12th time, and I'll probably say it again at some point. If I really wanted to renew this frame and everything, I would take the cab and everything off, have this whole thing sandblasted, and start over. I'm just darkening up the undercarriage so that when pictures or video is taken, it looks pretty. I know it's only going to last a couple of years, but that doesn't matter, because one day I hope to do that level of restoration on this truck, taking the cab and everything off and starting over. For now, I'm just doing this. They originally coated these frames with wax to keep them from rusting. Worked great. This is the kind of stuff that gets tracked all over the shop. So I'm going to sweep it up now before I go for the rust. The rust I'm not so worried about, but this sticky, waxy, greasy goo, that'll make a mess. Scrub your hole. Scrubbing my hole. Tuesdays are my hole scrubbing days. Oh no, an O2 sensor. That broke a while ago. Strangely, I am not concerned about that check engine light. I'm aware. I bet it's for an O2 sensor. I see a red door, and I'm going to paint it black. It's important to note that this metal is cold and I keep the paint warm in the bathroom that has heat. So it seems, I'm not trying to put on too much at any one time, but it does give it the runs. I don't even know what the temperature of this is, but it's cold. You're supposed to paint like 45 degrees and above. I don't care about the engine, I'm replacing it. Or I'm making it better. Okay, I'm gonna let that set up for a minute, turn the heater on, let it soak in, and then come back and look for the thin spots, because I didn't try to put a thick coat on this time, but it's still got the runs anyway. Once again, I think that's because it's cold. I'm just gonna touch up some of the light areas, or the thin areas in the paint.
Just like washing dishes, except for it's really smelly.
I've got these backing plates prepped and cleaned. I'm just going to lay a coat of paint. And there's no way that these are going to be smooth again, so it's going to have a hammered finish. Now I'm going to start working on the control arms. Remember that shock bolt we broke off? Well, I'm going to try and remove that now with a little bit of heat so I don't have to drill and tap. Fire usually wins. Goodbye, rock. You're no longer welcome here. It's one of the reasons you're going away, because you're gross. I think this work would be easier without this ball joint in the way. And I also found out we can take the little bumper off the bump stop. This is just bolted on. Sweet! This will make for better painting. And this one goes to the left side. No! Literally, my ball joint press is not big enough for this ball joint. In order for my ball joint press to start working, I need to get this started moving out and use my air hammer. I put the nut that goes on the end of the stud on here. This gives me more surface area for purchase. When I do this, it'll also work well with that. I put it on backwards because I don't want to mess up the castellated part, and I left the threads out just far enough so that I'm not mushrooming the end of this, so I can't get this back off. Yeah, that didn't quite work out. My press is awesome. It's a pressing matter. Ooh,
Figure we get the bits out before we go over to the press, or at least the biggest bits. Seems like it's going to be a lot easier to clean without the ball joint in the way. But I suspect these ball joints have never been out. I'd be surprised by that, but then again I wouldn't. This truck's been well cared for. I love how it thinks for a second like it's going to stay. And the press is like, no, you're not. You're not staying. You're done. You're done. We're already a step ahead with the uppers since we cut the tops of the rivets off. I'm thinking a couple of taps with the hammer should do it. Well, I was thinking that. Bye-bye. See ya. Ooh, I got the spring. That was a cool noise. Ka-ting! Bye-bye. Welcome back, viewers. Well, for you it's only been a couple of seconds, but for me it's been a day. And when we left off from the last clip, I went ahead and cleaned and painted and did all the stuff to the lower control arms and the stabilizer bar and all that, and got that part done. Still a few more things to get done on the steering linkage and some of these brackets. So I plan to clean this stuff up, some of these things in particular, and get these ready for paint and get them painted. I've decided to replace the inner and outer tie rods, but I'm still going to have to use this middle rod here. So I'll take measurements here and make sure that I'm able to put this back close. I'm still going to do alignment when I'm done, and harvest this guy. So we've got some work to do, and hopefully we'll have this together today. These are fine. These just need final cleaning. All the grease is melted away from the inside of these things. Mineral spirits is, well, I prefer it. There's other cleaners out there you can use, but I think people also use kerosene, that kind of thing. But for me, this works pretty good. There is one thing that I don't like about using mineral spirits, and that is it leaves an oily residue, which isn't good for paint. Therefore, after I get the mineral spirits blown off of here, I just go with brake clean. Brake clean evaporates like super quick and takes, you know, any kind of oily residue with it, it seems. So I just come in. I'm only painting the tops of these anyway, but watch how this dries out. See the difference? This one, which is just mineral spirits, and this one, which is brake clean. You can really see the difference with these. Well, I just discovered I don't have to paint these. My new kit comes with new brackets, which is great, except the old bushings were split, so I could just slip it over the outside of the bar. These are solid, so I have to run this all the way down the bar into position, which isn't so cool. I was wrong about this, as you'll see later in the series. But they're also serviceable, so you can inject lubricant down into here. I actually have a special grease gun with silicone lubricant in it. It'll go down into the bushing and hopefully keep this thing from being noisy, because if these type of bushings are famous for anything, it's being noisy. Poly bushings, that is. Polyurethane. Look, it made a clean spot. I'm just gonna clean off this center link thing here and then take it over the vise and do my other work. I'm not calling this my final clean on this yet. I'm just making it so that I can work on it without getting covered in grease. We're staying dirty today, folks. Staying dirty to make clean. It's like one of those kung fu weapons. Now, I'm really going to hurt myself if I continue. On my vise is the steering linkage assembly, positioned in the same way as it is when it's on the truck. This is the left side, this is the right side. I need to try to get these in the same length when I'm done installing these new tie rod ends. So inner tie rod end, outer tie rod end. This sleeve is what I need to connect these two together. I'm not buying this. I need to make sure that this is as close to the same length as possible when I install it back up on the truck. That'll make the alignment a bit easier. Therefore, I'm going to measure. I'm also going to count threads. Now, this could be off because the threads on my new tie rod ends might not be the same as this. I'm going to count them anyway, and I'm also going to take that overall measurement just as a backup. 9, 10, 11 to the outside on this one, so I'm going to write that down. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 7, 8, 9, 10, it looks like. 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 on this one. It's considerably shorter on this side. I'm going to try to measure to the Zerk fitting here. 17 1/4. Looks pretty good. This side looks like 16 3/4 maybe? Yeah. These are 18 millimeter. That worked. I got a new way of disconnecting these. Make a clean spot. These are 13s, and I probably should have. Let's just make this easy. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. I want it to come out, not to go back in. Meant to do that. Don't be that tool. Don't. That's so cool. Well, it's hot, but it looks cool. So caustic. I love it. If I mentioned how much I love working on my new workbench, it's perfect for this kind of thing. Keeps all the dust and grinding away from important stuff sometimes. I just love how solid it is too. That's one. Somebody really wanted that tight. I asked myself, should I even bother with penetrating oil? Let's see where it's at. Well, that side's coming loose. Let's go with it. Ooh, double go with it. It's a fight to see who wants to come out first. And I'm going the wrong way. The inner tie rod ends are longer, I believe. That's how I like it. All that preparation totally screwed it up. Oh look, it did make a clean spot. We are so close. Yeah, so close. Let's swap these bushings out, get these ball joints installed, get this stuff ready to put back together. There's a few different types of bushings. You have cam bolts going through here. Therefore, there's two caps. There's a metal cap coming through here, and there's one coming through here. We've got to remove those and save them, because these are the bushings that replace them in this kit. I'm going to start by putting it in my vise. And I'm not too worried about my paint job, because I can always come back and touch it up. There he is. How are we going to get you out? You know what? I'm going to take both of these caps off. That way I can just put it in the vise and be done. Maybe I should have just kept going. It's my friend. That's why it's my friend. I believe with all that stuff out of the middle that maybe, just maybe, I can come in here and remove Mr. Bushing. Instead of getting my fingers all gooey, I'm going to try this guy. So this, I want to go inside a little bit, but I'm also going to go outside, in particular underneath the head of this. These are cheap. I think I got like 20 of these brushes for like $1. That just pushed right in. The only thing I don't like about this, yeah, it does seem to stick out a little bit, is that I've got that gap right there, and I didn't have that before. Well, the gap is gone, but it sticks out a little bit back here, but it seems to do the same thing on the other side. I'm not going to be worried about it. I just noticed that the old bushings and the new bushings, there's a significant difference. And I think that's the reason why it was sticking out before. I may have to cut these down to match these. And I'm checking the instructions to see if that's what I'm supposed to do. To verify my theory, I'm going to try to insert this now. And if I can't get it in there, I don't like the way this fits. It doesn't fit, so I've got to cut it shorter. It looks to me like it's just that little end that needs to come off. Just removing the slag with this X-Acto knife. I don't want it rolling up under here. I hope that's not too much. Here's the issue. If you look at the base of the old bushing, it's a lot thinner than the new bushing. And that's what's causing this to stick out more and not go into the space like I want it to. So I cut this end off to try to make up for that, but now I'm going to hit the inside of this, and that's not cool. So I'm going to take my little Fruit Loops that I made, I'm going to put them back in here. And I'm going to say that what I cut out with that saw blade is enough to change the clearance to what I want it to be. Because I don't really have a choice aside from getting another kit, but it is a little disappointing that the kit doesn't work. I mean, these rubber bushings, they've got compliance, but these polyurethane bushings, these things are hard as a rock, especially it being cold today. You'll get to see if this works out for me or not, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But as you saw before, I couldn't even get it into that opening the way it was. So, but if I've got a noise from the front end, I know what it is. It's good to know things. I'm also going to take between the two bushings and load that up with some goo. In the trash can. And that's my final answer. Let's see if that was worth it. It's at least starting to go in now. I feel it will when I start smacking it with a hammer. I have no regrets. Control arm needs ball joints. Let's install them. The new ones bolt in, run the bolts up through the bottom. I'm going to wait and install the Zerk fitting until after it's on the vehicle. That way I can throw some paint in here. Really? Really? You wanted to push back? You look like you'd be useful for something. Just going after the rubber. Well, that sucked. It really sucked. Sure hope these poly bushings are worth it. I hope I get in this truck and it's like better than new. I'm ready to go out and jump on the NASCAR circuit, blasting deep purple as I'm trying to get next to the other drivers who are just blowing past me. Nobody's gonna stop my truck. I don't really see that happening. But hey, it's a nice thought, right? There is an alternative that takes longer and is 5 times as toxic, and that's burning the bushings out, which I would have made an attempt at had I not painted these things first in an effort to save time. So, if you got to replace control arm bushings on your truck, I suggest getting a torch, taking them outside, super important, that is like the most toxic stuff ever. Lighting them on fire, go grab a beverage of your favorite choice, let the thing burn down, and once it's cooled off, you can just scrape out the remnants and you're done. You don't have to go through all this malarkey. Seriously? There's long ones and short ones of these. I hope you're able to figure out what goes where. Yeah, malarkey was the G-rated version of what I really wanted to say. We like to keep it family friendly here on Eric the Car Guy. We will continue to do so, either through clever editing or silly words that are not used anymore, except for by really old people. Okay, they go in easier than they come out. Why couldn't you do that? What's your problem? Have I overworked you today? Is your battery dead? No, your battery's not dead. Just wussing out on me. Oh no. This is a cutting bit, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to cut one side of it so I can just take out the chunks. Just going to keep tearing into it till there's nothing left. Goodbye. Secret is to cut it. get it cut somehow, some way, and then use that weak point to exploit the rest. Like I said, this thing better ride awesome. And if not, I'm driving it into a lake. Just gonna do it. Right into a lake. I'm gonna swim away. Maybe I'll go fishing. But I will forget all about this. At least I know these will come out easier. This one's acting weird. Last time I cut it from the front because I can get to all the angles. When I try to cut it from this way and push it out this way, I just don't have, I'm limited in my movement. This seemed to work last time, so let's see if we can repeat success. Trying to cut it in the same spot. And I did. Nice. The secret. This stuff is just as sticky and gooey in person as it is on camera. So what I did with this one is before I inserted it, put this inside the hole in the back. And I'm putting this on the front. So this makes it so I've got this clean spot to hold. And when I drive it in, it should all be lubricated. I'm only putting little slight scoring on the inside of the bore, which I consider acceptable. I once did the entire front suspension bushings on a Honda Accord once and went with poly. Took me an entire day, and it was a situation similar to this. It was a total fight. Gotta say though, when I was done, it handled great. But man, bushings, they're a workout.
Well, viewers, that's a wrap on part 2 of the rebuilding of the front suspension and steering and reconditioning of the frame of ETCG Dad's truck. All that stuff here on the front end of these trucks, this is a GMT400, which ran from 1988 to 1998. Go on, get it! Before I was so rudely interrupted. GMT400s ran from 1988 to 1998. And so if you have one of those trucks of that vintage and you have any kind of work to do on the front suspension or steering on these trucks or brakes, I cover all of that in this part of the series. So I hope that information is helpful to you. Link down in the description will be additional videos, also premium member videos, which don't have ads and are longer, contain extended footage, that type of stuff. Links to that, along with links to parts, tools, also additional videos with additional information. So please check the description if you had any questions about anything you saw or did not see in this video. If you have automotive questions, I ask you head to EricTheCarGuy.com. You guessed it, also linked in the description. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. And when you comment, let me know what I could do better, worse, whatever. I enjoy the interactions. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.